What's up, everyone? Happy news, games, and more for today, Tuesday, October 27th. That's the date. I'm Cindy Goodman, and today I'm joined by Jana Garcia.
What's up?
Tom Marks.
Hello.
And Josh Dew.
What up?
I'm sure you're all very confused because we don't look like ourselves, and that's because Halloween is like 5 days away. And so we decided we'd dress up. Janet had the wonderful idea to add some pizzazz to our episode today. So before we jump into the news, real quick, why don't we explain our costumes? Because I feel like there's some smartness going on around here. So Janet, do you want to start?
Sure. I am Harley Quinn from Birds of Prey, so it's the iconic caution tape jacket. I did not make any of this, for I did not want to expend the money or effort, but I did go to Party City and buy whatever they had. Some of it fits well, some of it doesn't fit that well, but you can't tell which is which because I'm just on the camera from here up, so it's not too bad. But yeah, that's basically it. I wanted to do the temp hair dye too, but then I just kind of forgot, and to be honest, temp hair dye doesn't come out very well on my hair because my hair is so dark. It doesn't stop me from using the whole can on it whenever I do dye it, but I just kind of ran out of time to do that part. But yeah, that's the costume. It's a pretty good movie if you haven't watched it. I think Suicide Squad made a lot of people skip it. It is a really, really cool movie. You should check it out.
I am part of that squad, so I'll have to watch it. Tom, what's going on in your corner?
This is a costume. Janet told me we were wearing costumes this morning, so I recycled one from a couple years ago, but this is Wirt from Over the Garden Wall, which is the very best Halloween-y thing to watch in the month of October. So Over the Garden Wall is this animated TV show that it's just like, it's literally just one season. It's very short and it's wonderful and lovely and it's great. So go watch that.
I really like the hat. I think that pointed hats should make a comeback. Everybody's wearing snapbacks and shit. And I just think that we need more gnome hats.
Just a nice tall hat.
Yeah.
Right?
Tall
Josh,
cone.
what's the deal? You have 2 cones on your head. What's up with that?
They're ears, Sydney. Read a book. These are this is the Bathman. It's a Batman bathrobe. That's it. I'll give you the full like 360-ish. We bought this at a San Diego Comic-Con one year to make a video out of it based on the entire pun of Bathman. That was it. That was the whole pitch.
Was that the one where you pretended that Comic-Con was like your house, or was that E3?
No, that was an E3. Okay. Yeah, that's when I also wore a bathrobe. But
got it.
Then we're like, all right, let's keep the bathrobe thing going and make it Bathman.
I like it. And if you're confused, I'm Zombie Stitch. And I tried, it looks a lot dark. I look ridiculous in person, but I feel like the lights kind of have made the darkness on my face look a little less dark. But anyways, speaking of darkness, Cyberpunk 2077 got another delay today. If you have been on the internet at all, you probably have seen that, but we're going to kind of break down what that means. You know, is it really going to come out on December 10th like they're telling us? So CD Projekt Red announced it on their Twitter with we have become very familiar with that very pretty yellow with some text on it. And I'm not going to read the whole thing for you, but some highlights is they said, quote, "The biggest challenge for us right now is shipping the game on current gen, next gen, and PC at the same time, which requires us to prepare and test 9 versions of it," which I appreciated that transparency because I never thought about that. And then they did go on to say they did go gold when they said they did, so they didn't lie to us, which is great. And basically what that means is that the game is ready, it has all its content, but then they're in this period of making improvements for the day 0 patch. I'll just go in a circle. Well, it might not be a circle to you guys. To what I'm looking at, it looks like a circle. But Janet, how do you feel about this additional delay?
I feel like Thanksgiving just got a lot easier from like a work perspective. I do guides at IGN, as I've mentioned here a couple times, so it is now out of the very hectic window of having like Assassin's Creed Odyssey also there. So like that's the gut reaction. I'm like, all right. Like future me is always a lot more willing to do work than current me. Like if you want me to do anything, just ask me like a little bit ahead. Oh my, when is it, Tuesday? Oh, I could do that. But then like the day of, I'm like, no, I don't, this was horrible. I shouldn't have said yes to doing this. That's basically how I've been building my career over the last couple of years. So that was my immediate reaction. My other one is, you know, is anyone surprised at this point? It's been delayed so many times. Yeah, I don't know. It's really creating an aura of negativity around a game that already was prone to having auras of negativity surrounding other delays, surrounding conversations of crunch. Like it's just, and then also just surrounding the lack of access the public has had to the game. Like typically with games like this, you would see maybe like multiple preview cycles and like kind of just like a lot more to see. Obviously we had our big like pieces that went up where we had like I think Ryan was the one that did the official preview, and like Miranda had like an exploration angle, and we've definitely seen more of the game than we have like before, but not as much as we normally do. It also solidifies that going gold really doesn't mean that much. I mean, it doesn't mean that the game is there, but it doesn't mean that you're totally out of the woods yet. I think a lot of people assume that since it went gold, like it's out of the delay season or window, and obviously that's not true. So yeah, I don't know. It's a bad vibe all around. I'm personally not heartbroken over it because I just admittedly don't think this game is gonna redefine what gaming is. Like I've never really bought into the Cyberpunk hype. I think it'll be a quality game, and we'll just see like will it be, mind blowing quality, or will it just be like another great game where we have lots of other great games. So I'm not like broken up over it, but it is negative and just generally dark as you kind of open to it.
Yeah, like my eyes.
Yes.
So Tom, to bounce off of what Janet was saying in terms of like, she didn't buy into the Cyberpunk hype necessarily. I've been somewhere in the middle where I'm like excited, and every time there's a delay, the anticipation for me is like, oh my gosh, I can't wait. Like it's going to be so good. How do you think all of these delays are kind of affecting the public's perception and what they're going to be hoping for once this game actually comes out? Because I have a feeling it's going to be perfection is kind of what's in people's minds since there's been so many delays.
I mean, the tricky thing about that is like sometimes games do sort of achieve this sort of fanaticism and hype levels where the expectation is way out of line with whatever like possibly even could be the reality, and I worry that's a little bit of what's happening. Like people are crazy hyped for Death Stranding, people are crazy hyped for Red Dead 2, and I'm not throwing shade at either of those games for like disappointing or anything like that. I'm just saying like at a certain point the public is just going to be excited for a thing regardless of like the reality of the situation. It is weird to see this happening just because like I can't think of another time a high profile game has been consistently delayed this much this close to release. Like this is sort of the second time that they've like reset the clock when we felt like we were getting pretty close, right? And I'm not like it's obviously a huge disappointment. I'm looking forward to the game. I'm very excited for it, but like I also understand why they're doing it, and I think probably they're making the right call for what they need to do. But yeah, like in terms of what that's going to manifest as, like it's really hard to say, right? Like because clearly the statement that you read earlier of like them trying to ship it on current gen, next gen, and PC at the same time implies to me that like one sort of aspect of that probably wasn't up to snuff, or one or more aspects of that, right? So like basically that's what reading between the lines like read like to me, and it's like, so is this more time going to give them, is it going to be what they need, or is it going to be kind of an imperceptible difference to the public but it's going to make a difference to them behind the scenes? Like it's just really hard to say without actually getting our hands on it, and we won't really know kind of, I don't think the public is ever going to know the impact this actually had on the game, much to probably CDPR's hope, right? They don't want people to know what the game looks like right now. They want people to know what the game is going to look like after this delay.
Yeah. No, that's a really good point. Josh, do you think that they hit December 10th?
I don't
That
know,
smile.
man. I don't know. That's do you guys know how many times they've delayed it?
3 this year.
Or 3. This is the fourth this is the fourth date
this
in
is
2020.
It's becoming the new Mutants of video games, except people are actually
that's
excited
a great
about.
analogy.
Thank you. I think New Mutants was delayed more times than that.
Yeah.
It was definitely.
But New Mutants was also like theoretically more complete when it was delayed, right?
Right. Yeah. There were a total of 5 release dates, I think, for the New Mutants. So if Cyberpunk gets one more, they'll tie. But
Don't put that voodoo in the world.
I mean, hey, I want the game to be good. I don't care when I get it. At this point, there are enough games for me to like tackle for the rest of this year that like I'm not. Yeah, I'm not. What's chomping at the bit for this game? Is that the phrase? Chomping at the bit?
Technically champing, but yeah.
Champing. It's
Champing at the really? Why?
I don't know the etymology
Champing at the bit?
Chomping is
Champing
like
at the bit. Somebody needs to look this up.
What do you
I'm upset. What? How do you champ? I thought you were
Champing
chomping at the bit. Like you were so hungry that you were biting it.
I googled champing at the bit, and it said champing at the bit means to chew anxiously.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't it just be chomping?
Exactly.
What?
The more you know. The more you know.
To be honest.
We're all champing at the bit for Cyberpunk.
Champing at the bit 2077.
Okay, so yeah, there's been a lot of dates. We had April 16th, September 17th, November 19th, December 10th. This is open to anybody who wants to answer this because I don't know. I am very open to the fact that it's like, I love video games. I don't know very much about development and kind of like making these decisions. And no offense to any of you, since none of us have worked at developers to my knowledge, I think we're all kind of playing armchair developer right now. But I'm curious, why don't they just delay it to like April of next year? And then if they finish it earlier, move the date up versus just like doing these incremental.
Yeah, and it's so like this is speculation. Part of this is just you can't just have these things in development forever. The longer they are in development, the more money they cost to make. And also, if you miss the holiday window, then you aren't selling Cyberpunk on Christmas, right? Like that's a huge part, I think, of probably why they really have been pushing for this holiday. It's money, right? Apart from that, you do see a lot of smaller developers who don't really have, millions and millions of people who've already pre-ordered the game and are anticipating it, not telling you any date. Like one of my absolute favorite developers ever is Zachtronics. They make stuff like Opus Magnum, Infinifactory, these really great puzzle games. They just announced a brand new game. Their next game is coming out on like Monday, right? And they announced it yesterday. I think it's called Memoir 48. I can't remember the exact. No, 88, something like that. Anyway, it looks cool. And like smaller developers are in a more kind of like, they have more flexibility to just say, we're just going to work on this until we're ready to put it out in the world and we're sure we can hit the date. And then the date's going to be within the next couple months, right? Nintendo's been doing that, to be fair, more often too. But like when you announced the game 6 years ago or 5 years ago or whatever it was with a cinematic trailer at E3, and you've got all these people who've already paid for it, and you like there needs to, the part of that marketing machine, I think, is just you need to give people a thing to shoot for.
Yeah. Well, shooting they are. Maybe the pressure of, like you said, the holiday season will get them to hopefully ethically get to December 10th for all of us. But before we move on, this is funny to me. Posh Penguino on Twitter tweeted at Cyberpunk yesterday, I think it was at like 4 p.m. or something, and said, "Hi, before I book the 19th off work tomorrow, the 19th being the former Cyberpunk release date, can I have a full confirmation that the game is going to come out that day? No take backsies." And then Cyberpunk did respond from the official Twitter account and said, "Full confirmation." Yeah, no. And then this morning they made their announcement. And they actually responded to the thread and said, "Well, F word, sad face." Which I think. Go ahead.
One thing on that is Jason Schreier over at Bloomberg tweeted that he had heard that Cyberpunk developers, this is his reporting, that Cyberpunk developers found out literally at the same time we did. There was an internal email that went out at the same time today as the official tweet. So like, don't get mad at the Cyberpunk devs or this Twitter account. Clearly they didn't know what was going on and they wouldn't have just like lied outright. I'm sure they're broken up about this too.
Totally. Well, that was my assessment. I was like, I think they would have just ignored it if they already knew. Like, why respond to a random tweet? No offense, Posh Penguino, but like they're not gaining anything from that. Yeah. But yeah, so Cyberpunk 2077 is delayed. Just for funsies, I know I already asked Josh. He said, like, did you say maybe or not really that they're making December 10th? I want to get a poll of the group.
I'm gonna say.
Mark you down
I'm gonna
as
say
right
no.
now. Okay, so it's Josh.
I think they might roll over to 2021.
Wow.
Okay. Tom, yes or no?
I'm gonna say yes,
All right, sweet.
but I don't know that for sure. Like, this is definitely like a risky yes, but I'm gonna say yes.
I like it. Janet, yes or no? December 10th.
I'm going to say no because there's nothing that gives me confidence in their ability to get this game out at the time said, based on the fact that they haven't several times. So
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, and I mean, if New Mutants can get 5 dates, so can Cyberpunk. I'm actually also saying no. So I have this piece of paper. It's here, and we will revisit this on December 10th.
Or maybe sooner when they delay it before that.
Or maybe sooner when they delay it before then. And I meant to read off Unknown 4x4's comment when we were all talking about it, but I forgot. Sorry, Unknown. But he said, Jesus Christ, don't set a release date if you're not 100% sure you're going to hit it. So this man should be a developer. Just kidding. That was mean. I agree with you to a certain extent. I'm walking myself into a hole. Let's move on. So PS5 unboxing. We were able to actually take the PS5 out of the box, as well as our first preview for Astro's Playroom. Went up either this morning or yesterday. I can't really remember. But Janet, we are in the presence of the future. She has a PS5. Do you want to maybe, I don't know, I don't want to lead you down a weird path. I know that the embargoes are kind of confusing. So if you just want to talk about whatever you're allowed to at this point.
Yeah, I'll just kind of run down what kind of coverage you can find from us. Originally, we had we can see right now, the unboxing of the actual console. Like before, we had like the unboxing of the box, which I know some people thought was silly, but that was what we were tied to with embargoes. And we're really trying to show y'all as much of this as we can at all times, given whatever the embargoes are. Similar to what we saw with Xbox, they're sort of slowly rolling out. So you're getting a little bit more and more as the days go by. So we got to look at the console, the accessories that we were given as well, which are the headset, the other controller, a charging station, and the HD camera, which is not compatible with PSVR, which is odd, but I don't know what's with that. And then you guys can also go ahead and read or watch on YouTube or on IGN Jonathan's preview of Astro's Playroom, a hands-on preview, and it was specific to like one specific area in that game or section of the game. And yeah, that's basically the coverage that you can find. I encourage all of you to go check out what Jonathan has written up and what our team has edited together video-wise for that preview. But essentially, it's a lot of looking at what is the DualSense like and what is it like to play a game on PS5. Obviously, the DualSense has been a huge part of the marketing for PS5, and it is also, a big part of what they're showing off in Astro's Playroom, which is essentially a tech demo for the PS5. I won't speak to I'm just going to read what Jonathan wrote because you guys can go ahead and read it, and you should. For me, playing that, which I played last night to kind of be fresh for today, and I only played that part last night just to make sure I don't actually talk about anything else. But I was pretty impressed by the DualSense. I really enjoyed it a lot. I was surprised that we kept talking about what's the vibration gonna feel like in like a non-weird way, what's it gonna be like to walk on the sand and all of that. It's not so much that the vibrations were reminiscent of the feeling that was supposed to be conveyed to me, so much as to the way that the sound design was implemented, just like married so perfectly to convey that. It's sort of like is meant to trick your brain into feeling like you're skating on ice, if we're bringing back to the level that Jonathan played through and talked about in his preview. So that's really what really impressed me about it. I'm looking forward to seeing how else it's implemented. I think Astro's Playroom obviously does some really awesome things, but that's also like a very specifically designed tech demo versus like a larger game. So I'm curious to see how we'll notice or not notice all the things the DualSense is capable of in other games. The adaptive triggers feel amazing. It's a platformer, so it wasn't exactly like the best place to show off adaptive triggers, admittedly.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing that really stuck out to me, especially with this being Astro, which Astrobot, was on PSVR. If you have PSVR, please play that. It's like one of my favorite games of this gen, I would say. It's so fantastic. And the big thing that stuck out to me with like this, how it feels to play on PS5, is that it reminds me so much of VR. Just the way VR like makes you feel immersed. It really is pulling in like everything it can to sell you that you are in this world, you're in this game. You're, when you pick up a gun, it feels like you're picking it up, like if we're thinking of VR games. And I feel like what the DualSense is doing with its vibration and the way it's using the sound in the kind of internal mic that's built into the controller, it reminds me a lot of that. And I'm someone that has PSVR and Oculus Quest, so I've dabbled in VR a good amount, and I'm like, wow, that kind of immersion's finally now in like standard gaming. So I think that's really cool because not a lot of people are, one, going to play VR, two, can afford VR, given how much you still need to like have other gaming things. If you want to, like, if you're someone that plays games, you can't really just have a VR headset and get the full experience. So that's what really stuck out to me about it. You guys can see on screen with Destin unboxing it. It has the vertical inside orientation. That's kind of my rundown of everything, but feel free to ask me things related to the hardware off and that one specific area in the preview.
Okay, so thank you, Janet. That was like very thorough. I very much appreciated that. It's no surprise that the PS5 is very big, but I know seeing actual pictures of it in people's homes is surprising. Do you know how you're storing it yet? Like,
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go ahead, and you can actually see this on our Instagram stories. We had like all this, Josh, with like the dope content. Like I looked through that to see other people's configurations and things too. It was really fun. You should check it out. It's IGN.com on Twitter, on Instagram. I think I'm ultimately gonna store it lying down inside my unit of like my TV shelf. I have like one of those like every other basic person, like it's like an IKEA TV stand with those 3 slots. Everyone knows someone that owns one of those because it was like $50 or something. Only because I also have a Switch and I'm also planning on getting the Series X. And I think the Series X is going to require the ventilation more just based on how it's built. Like the PS5 is sort of twisty and it has that little platform that sort of elevates it and provides extra spacing, while the Xbox is just like a little tower. So I think I'll put that vertical and the PS5 on its side. Right now, at my home, I currently have it vertical because I feel like, I don't know, it's like easier to access, or that's sort of how I feel like it's supposed to be displayed. So that's why I have it like that. I think it looks awful both ways. I'm someone that's very pro, like, oh, I love it. It's bold. It's different. Like, it's ugly. It's like hella ugly. On its side, it looks like an ice cream sandwich. On vertical, it looks like a weird tower. Turn it to the side, and it looks like a binder. So it's very, very much not good looking. It's
I
very
think the word you're looking for is versatile.
yeah, it's a lot. But my living room already looked ugly because I put a Miss Pac-Man machine in there. And that's no shade to Miss Pac-Man. It's a beautiful arcade machine, but it looks ugly next to my other furniture. I'm basically living in an Animal Crossing house, which can be nice, but
Good way of putting it.
It's sort of
So Josh, I've definitely asked you guys if you're getting PS5s before, but to remind the audience, because I know, but the audience might have forgotten. Josh, are you getting a PS5? And if you are, do you have any issues with how big it is?
I will get one eventually. I didn't pre-order yet because I'm a little I'm not like super cash positive right now, but yeah, I'll at some point I'll get it. The size of it is a little bit of a concern for me. Like my entertainment center is like it's right there. It's not huge. And I don't think I can fit it anywhere other than like outside the center.
Yeah.
What I don't like about it is like the face plates are like kind of adding some unnecessary length and
Size.
width, I
Yeah.
believe. It's like it's creating these lips, right? And they have, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like they have no actual function. They're just there, right?
I feel like everything about the design is related to cooling, so I'm not ready to say
Okay.
that they're just there, but I
Like
get
if you took them off, do you
Yeah,
think
you
they
can
would be
remove
cooler?
I don't know what would happen if you take them off. I do know that there are like third-party companies making like custom ones, so like
Yeah.
you can take it off and have it still work. I'm not sure if that would like hurt it if you left it like
Yeah,
that.
I wonder.
What I will say in that regard, I have no idea in regards to the PS5 specifically, but at least from a PC building standpoint, a lot of the time if you run your computer without the side panels on, the cooling is actually worse than if you have the side
Ooh.
panels, or when you have the side panels
Mhm.
on, because the fans are designed to pull air in from a specific spot and send it out another spot in like a very kind of like nice flow way, and so taking off creating gaps where there shouldn't be could actually screw with that airflow potentially. I have no idea in regards to the PS5 specifically, but I doubt that would help it.
That makes sense.
That's fair. I mean,
sense.
I would have, like, if I had to, I would have just stored it like without the faceplates at all, because I barely look at my consoles. Like, I'm not spending all day looking at the console wishing I could play it when I could just play it. So yeah, I think it's too big.
Tom, is there any chance that you'll take the contents of a PS5 out and put it in a smaller PC container?
Absolutely not. What are you, crazy?
You're the PC guy. I don't know.
It's very different. I'm not voiding my warranty for that.
No, a good YouTube video. We should do that.
Unlike Janet, I actually really like the way it looks. I do say that not having one in my house though, so maybe
different when you open it.
I thought I liked it.
Yeah, it's big.
Totally willing to eat those words later whenever I get mine. But like I like the way it looks. I do think it is too big from what I've seen. Like if it was the exact same design, just but like the size of a PS4 Pro, I think I would be much happier with the way it looks. Because it's not even like a comparison thing. I'm not even talking about like, oh, compared to the Xbox, it's way too big, or even compared to the PS4 Pro, it's way too big. It's literally just like I look at my entertainment center and I'm like, I'm gonna have to move some stuff. Like I have room for it, but like that is a big thing. Again, though, like Josh is saying, that's not like the end of the world, though. Like, I feel like the questions about like packaging and form factor and that sort of stuff are like only ever really questions for like the first month of a console, and then people just sort of move on and don't really care what it looks like, right?
For sure.
Well, before we move on, and the last thing before we move on to the next story, how big is too big? Like what at what point? Well, no, seriously. So I know right now we're all like, this is a very large console. This is an issue. But how much bigger does it need to be for where you think people would just be like, I'm not even going to mess with this. This is much too large.
I mean, how big is too big is a question we've been asking ourselves for ages as a society. I think for a number of different verticals.
Applies to anything.
I think it goes as tall as like my space heater right here. That's too tall, right?
What a good call.
What about half of the height?
Half of this height? So like this, cut off at the screen here. That looks like an Xbox Series X now.
Okay, go up another notch. Give us another like 8 inches. No, go down.
This, like that.
Like, is that too big? That feels really big.
I'm gonna be honest. I don't know if there's like a size that they could have made the PS5 where I wouldn't have bought it, which I feel like.
So you would have bought a space heater sized PS5.
I absolutely.
Here it is on its side, by the way.
I think that if it was space heater size, it would cross the threshold of being too big to where I actually like that it's like committing to how large it is. Like it doesn't need an entertainment center because it is the entertainment center.
Ooh.
Yeah, like the size of a small child. Like I would buy the hell out of that console just because they'd never do that again, and you'd have to have it. Like I just love games, so I will just buy, and I love consoles, like specifically because I'm not a PC person. I would just buy. It doesn't matter. They could have made it look like anything, and I still would have bought it, and I still would have been excited. So it's very cool to live with the PS5. It lives with me. I'm not really sure because it's so large. I'm also comically small. In defense of the PS5, I am very tiny. I'm 5 feet tall. So like the PS5 is like slowly like inching up on me, and it's just kind of a lot to take in. But
before we completely move on, Tom, yes or no, would you buy a space heater sized PS5?
Same price.
I mean, I wouldn't be happy about it, but yeah.
Let us know in the chat. Would you purchase a space heater sized PS5? Let us know. I already said that.
What if it was like doubled as a space heater? That'd be kind of dope.
And that's what I'm happy with that. It reminds me of the I always get really anxious when we get kind of off topic. Like somebody higher up is going to be watching this and be like, Sydney cannot host this anymore. But the last thing I'll say is that it reminds me of back in like the early 2000s. They sold the Barbie dolls that were like 3 feet tall, and they were like life sized or whatever. Even though it's like Barbies, I think proportionally would be much larger than 3 feet tall. But it reminds me of that. Anyways, Assassin's Creed is going to become a live action Netflix show, and there's multiple projects being planned, which is exciting if you're an Assassin's Creed fan. So Netflix and Ubi are teaming up to produce it, and it will be executive produced by Ubisoft's Jason Altman and Danielle Krynick. And again, first of many projects, the collaboration will, quote, tap into the iconic video games trove of dynamic stories to create live action, animated, and anime series. Now that quote, I don't know if y'all have the Runner Show open or if you need me to repeat that, but I thought it was interesting that it said the collaboration will tap into the iconic video games trove and then listed 3 different like forms of film, movies, etc. Do you think that we're going to get 3 different Assassin's Creed shows?
I imagine they're just like exploring things right now, right? Like I bet my vibe is that if the first one doesn't do well, they're not going to just like greenlight 300 more things, right? But they probably are messing with ideas. That's kind of what that statement reads to me like.
Yeah. Janet, are you excited about this? How do you feel about video game adaptations? Hopeful?
I feel like this is gonna sound like, I'm just gonna say it because it's probably gonna sound hella mean. I am not really interested in like these very story-driven adaptations for when I didn't really even care about the story when it was in the game. Like, I'm like, what, like I think The Witcher does actually have some interesting stuff going on narratively from the games, at least. Even though I know the show was based on the books, which the game was based on the book, and it's got this whole little like layer going on. I do think something like Assassin's Creed might struggle in the sense that it has less to pull from. Like there's been less narratively explored in that. It's sort of this weird in between because I know Assassin's Creed kind of originally started as like a much more story world heavy thing, with it sort of having I forgot the word for it. It's like is it the Animus or something? Like where it's like so you're in the real world, but it's like this weird time thing, and they sort of backed away from that. So I think it sort of depends on kind of, as they mentioned, like what angle they use to explore this, because there is rich storytelling there, but I also know they've sort of backed away from that and just tried to make quality games, which has generally served the franchise well. But yeah, like I'm never really that excited for like TV or movie takes of games, because like games are just so much more of an experiential thing. Like that's what I get the joy out of. Sometimes the story is an element there, but usually like there are stories that I will enjoy in a game, but I only enjoyed them because I got to play through them and participate, and I wouldn't have enjoyed it if I was just watching it.
Totally.
So yeah, that's kind of where
that's very well put. Josh, so there's going to be Assassin's Creed, which just got announced. And currently there's other Ubisoft TV and movie projects like The Division with Jake Gyllenhaal and Jessica Chastain, Beyond Good and Evil series, and then a Splinter Cell animated series. Out of those 4 things, are you excited for any of them?
I mean,
which one?
I mean, I think I'd be most excited for the Assassin's Creed thing, just because I've always liked the premise, just like this whole tapping into your genetic memory. Is that what they call it? But you know, going back to your ancestors and pretending to be them. I don't basically, I like that time travel type. It's not time travel, but it's time travel.
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah. And it felt very unique at the time. And I feel like the main series didn't really execute it super well. So maybe this could be a nice little try again. And then the movie tried it, and then that they didn't do it that well either. So I'm just very surprised that this, is selling and it's happening.
They're giving it another go.
Yeah, that they're giving it another go. Like if I was a Netflix executive, I'd be like, oh, how well does, Assassin's Creed, like other content do besides the games? And here's the movie. It's like, oh, maybe we shouldn't do this, but they're doing it. They're doing multiple, right? Or just one?
Well, it says that there's first of many projects.
First of many projects. So. That's wild. Are they making an Assassin's Creed cinematic universe? Who knows? I mean, there's a potential for that, right? Like
there's
whole
a lot of
game
assassins.
It wouldn't be a terrible one to do that with.
It wouldn't. Yeah.
Animus, as love it or hate it, that Animus setup, it is a really I guess the word is a really convenient
Yes.
vehicle for storytelling, right?
Mhm.
When you can be anywhere at any time and you can always link back to modern day if you want it. You can be sci-fi, you can be fantasy, like it just sort of is what you want it to be. And like that's why this universe I think is like ripe with potential for this. But like yeah, we just got to see. Generally, I think TV shows do better than movies, though, in terms of video game adaptations. Movies, like games, are so naturally sort of like set up to be episodic and be like bite-sized
Right.
stories together rather than just like one big thing. That I think series generally are more interesting to me than video game movies, which are largely forced and uninteresting. So like,
Mhm.
Like rushed. Yeah.
yeah. So I'm
Yeah.
not necessarily not looking forward to that.
So can I say something inappropriate? Of course I can. So
Yeah,
I just
sure.
realized
Who's
when
watching?
you say every time I think of animus, it just makes me think of the word anus. I don't know why. I think it's because there's just like
Tight,
not
yeah.
very many things that have those combination of letters in it. But then I just noticed that Assassins has ass in it. And I don't know.
It has it twice.
Conspiracy theory. Maybe somebody who did that just really likes butts. Anyways, thanks so much for watching NG Plus today. We will be back tomorrow. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. We're live every week, weekday, Monday through Friday, 4 p.m. Pacific. Thanks for tuning in. Thank you so much, Janet, Tom, and Josh. And that has been today's news, games,
And more.